New York City public schools remove their ChatGPT ban. This article came out a little bit ago, but I thought this was interesting to come across. I just came across a couple days ago. New York City's Department of Education will rescind its ban on the widely popular chatbot ChatGPT, which some worried could inspire more student cheating from its schools' devices and networks. Obviously, schools have to figure out a plan on how they're going to use and implement these new tools that are going to be at the hands of their students, and that's on all levels. I just wonder, though, if the conversation is shifting in a direction that doesn't quite address the real issue at hand, or and we're just making up ways that they can implement it in teaching. Obviously, for the job of the teachers, it makes their job easier to be able to utilize such a tool to create documents and study guides and tests and questionnaires and all this kind of stuff. Makes all that easier. But what about the underlying problem of how this will affect specific types of assignments, specific types of things that do play a large factor in grade point averages, especially as you advance into levels of higher education. This is a very real issue that we need to go over. But it says the news comes several months after the initial ban was announced. In an opinion piece for Chalkbeat published Thursday, the Chancellor of New York City Public Schools, David Banks, outlined the school system's plans to engage with ChatGPT, a chatbot created by artificial intelligence company OpenAI. We all know this. He said the ban was put in place due to potential misuse and concerns raised by educators in our schools. However, he wrote, the knee-jerk fear and risk overlooked the potential of generative AI to support students and teachers, as well as the reality that our students are participating in and will work in a world where understanding generative AI is crucial. I think that this is important. I think that educators at all levels, as well as employers at all levels, in various different fields of work, in various different markets, and in various different levels of pay structure and pay scale, and have to accept the reality that generative AI is going to be used. Generative AI is something that is going to be used by your students. It's going to be used by your employees, whether you embrace it or not. And there needs to be plans figured out of what that world looks like, especially if they are going to be successful and grow in that world. However, they are preparing them and helping them utilize the tool. It's about time that school systems actually take that stance on something. It's weird to me that this is the particular thing that they're all taking the stance on, or at least this group is. We're going to prepare them to live in a world like this, and you still have many things that I feel like school doesn't properly prepare you for, no matter what level you go to. If you go to a university or a college, you get out of that university, you go into the field that you were studying for, and there is nothing that you studied in college, almost nothing. I'll say almost nothing because I know it's different for everybody, but it felt like for me, nothing that I studied particularly helped me in the field that I actually began to work in. And I have many stories of people who feel the same way. But Banks said officials held discussions with tech industry leaders about their platform's potential and the future possibilities for schools, educators, and students. They also consulted our most trusted experts, citywide educators, many of whom had already started teaching about the future and ethics of AI. While initial caution was justified, it has now evolved into an exploration and careful examination of this new technology's power and risks, he wrote. Going forward, Banks said educators will be provided with resources and real-life examples of successful AI implementation in schools to improve administrative tasks, communication, and teaching. They will also offer a toolkit of resources for educators to use as they initiate discussions and lessons about AI in their classrooms. This is the part here where I feel like the conversation has the potential to miss out on what the real problem at hand is. And I feel like people like Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, need to acknowledge and address this situation. I've heard them acknowledge that students will cheat using these tools, and there's nothing they can do about it, essentially. But then we need to talk about the response as far as education and businesses will have in that way, because that is what needs to be addressed really on all sides, by all parties. I don't know if there's much that Sam Altman really can do about it, but it is something that needs to be acknowledged and discussed in open forum, which I think he's starting to do more now. And I think it's probably because the discussion around AI is so saturated that that people don't really seem to be discussing. Like, most of the conversations you see by the tech giants, the tech titans, are focused, I believe, more on AI as a AGI type of situation, where it's more of like the science fiction movies types of AI that everyone's warning about. But what this tool specifically does, and how much of a shakeup this tool actually causes in our world, has not really been addressed at all. It is proper to say, like, the generative AI is not the type of AI that people think it is. It's not as smart as you think it is, but it is ever more so dangerous in this sense, and we'll get into that in a minute. When asked for a statement, a spokesperson for New York City's Department of Education referred NBC News to the Chancellor's op-ed. Manhattan Bureau President Mark D. Levine praised the decision to drop the ban, calling it absolutely the right move. In a tweet, everyone quoted him on this tweet: "We need to prepare our young people for the new world that's coming." Although chatbots are not a new technology, ChatGPT exploded. We know this. Viral launch, went online. Use of AI in educational settings continues to stir discourse online. This piece of it is really interesting. This is the last part I wanted to read to you guys. This week, Texas A&M University Commerce said it is investigating after a screenshot of an instructor's email in which he accused students of having used AI on their final assignments went viral on Reddit. Many blasted him, and others came to his defense, noting that AI is still a very new tool. In classrooms, AI technology is already being used to help detect plagiarism. Many students have long used computer-assisted writing tools such as Grammarly or Google Docs. Smart Compose platforms like Grammarly and Chegg also offer plagiarism checking tools. Plagiarism checking tools do not work on generative AI documents. We already know this. So this is all, I don't know what they're using AI to help detect plagiarism. Okay, that's great, but this is not the problem. You no longer need to plagiarize. If you're plagiarizing work to get your assignment done, you're an idiot, because now you don't even need to do that. Like, there's no need to do that anymore. You can have something created out of thin air for you. I mean, if you're going to cheat, do it in a way that's the smart way. It's like going to rob a liquor store, but you don't wear a mask. It's like, hello. Anyways, it's probably not a good analogy. In April, Turnitin, a plagiarism detection service, announced it will activate its AI writing detection capabilities to help educators and academic institutions identify AI-generated text in student-written submissions. So this, we'll see if that actually works. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know how they're going to be able to detect that, and how that's even going to be possible. I don't know if that's even going to be. Maybe they feel like they can. So I would like to follow up with that, because that's what I was just commenting on a few seconds ago. That they've already released that there's no way to tell when something is written by generative AI, and that plagiarism platforms have not been able to catch anything. So I'm curious to see how this will play out. Maybe let's see if we can check that out later. I'll read about that one and maybe do a follow-up video on that. I want to see what they're doing to catch that. Anyway, so as I read this article, the one thing that stood out was that they had announced some resources that they were putting together. They were provided with resources and real-life examples of successful AI implementation in schools. I read multiple articles talking about the situation where they have lifted the ban, and talking about the resources they received, but I have not been able to get a proper explanation of how they were utilizing those resources and what those resources were actually showing them what to do. Like, what's the plan here, guys? How are we going to utilize ChatGPT to to continue to teach your students critical thinking skills, but also embrace technology? And so I was able to come across one article that was from MIT Technology Review, where they did mention some tools and some ways and methodologies that teachers are utilizing generative AI in their classrooms for teaching, and I thought this was interesting. And so, in all fairness and looking at what they're doing, I feel like this is worth highlighting and going over. But this article here is ChatGPT is going to change education, not destroy it. And I don't know if, once again, they're really addressing the elephant in the room on this, but it says here at one point, teachers are asking students to use ChatGPT to generate text on a topic and then getting them to point out the flaws. And one example that a colleague of Stansberry's shared at her workshop, students used the bot to generate an essay about the history of the printing press when its U.S.-centric response included no information about the origins of print in Europe or China. The teacher used that as the starting point for a conversation about bias. It's a great way to focus on media literacy. This person says, Crompton is working on a study of ways that chatbots can improve teaching. She runs off a list of potential applications she's excited about, from generating test questions to summarizing information for students with different reading levels to helping with time-consuming administrative tasks such as drafting emails to colleagues and parents. Like, from the teacher's side, it's great. From the teacher's side, they are getting a tool that will help them, especially with the workload of a teacher. Teachers are under a tremendous workload. They do a lot for a very little amount of money in various different areas of the country. In some areas of the country, they get paid pretty decent compared to what it costs to live there. But that's not everywhere. There's teachers that are really working heavy loads and not making enough money for it. One of our favorite uses of the technology is to bring more interactivity into the classroom. Teaching methods that get students to be creative, to role play, or to think critically lead to a deeper kind of learning than memorization. She says ChatGPT can play the role of a debate opponent and generate counter arguments. I thought this was interesting. It can play the role of a debate opponent and generate counter arguments to a student's positions. For example, by exposing students to an endless supply of opposing viewpoints, chatbots could help them look for weak points in their own thinking. So that's really interesting. And I find that to be a really interesting way to embrace and utilize the technology for teaching. Crompton also notes that if English is not a student's first language, chatbots can be a big help in drafting text or paraphrasing existing documents, doing a lot to level the playing field. Chatbots also serve students who have specific learning needs too. Ask ChatGPT to explain Newton's law of motion to a student who learns better with images rather than words, for example, and it will generate an explanation that features balls rolling on a table. So that is really great. That is a really great way to utilize the tools. I thought I hope that the schools in New York are using something similar to this. However, the one thing that we still need to talk about and that isn't being addressed is the fact that this radically and fundamentally causes, or will have to cause, if you're gonna actually make sure your students are learning and you're gonna actually make sure that they are engaging and doing things that need to be done. The examples they're giving of where students are cheating are examples that are not solved or resolved by the examples they're giving of how they're embracing the technology. And so the only way that this can do this is by having something that can detect the generative AI stuff that they are, the writing, the essays and written assignments that students are utilizing generative AI to do and complete within seconds. That's where the problem lies. And I said in a video earlier, I told you I'd get back to this. I said in a video earlier that I did where the way I foresee this going is they're going to have to change the grading structure in the sense of the assignments where students go home and they do the assignment at home and not in class will have to represent a smaller portion of their GPA, represent a smaller portion of their grade, because there's no way for them to determine at that point what they are turning in is if that is actually work that they have completed without the use of generative AI, or if it is. There's no way for them to do that. And so what that fundamentally will lead to is a change in the structure of the grade point average. And in that same video, we discussed how that eventually that'll happen in work, like the jobs that are very, very easy to accomplish, where generative AI can get it done in seconds, will ultimately eat away at the employer's willingness to hire the expertise that would be needed in order to do that job eventually. That's where that leads. And so, for instance, I could see entire HR departments shrinking down to one person just simply based off the fact that most of the management and leadership in the organization can generate will eventually be able to generate proper HR documents and procedures and processes, and then hand that off to a lower level staff member who will be able to implement those processes from the HR perspective. It's things like that is going to be happening and taking place, and so that's how it will fundamentally change everything we're saying. But this is an article, Turnitin turns on AI writing detection capabilities for educators and institutions. This is in Southeast Asia, Singapore, April 5th, 2023. Today, a leading provider of academic integrity solutions globally will activate its AI writing detection capabilities. The technology identifies the use of AI writing tools, including ChatGPT, with 98% confidence. Ooh, this is interesting. This may change everything that I was just saying. Enabling educators to analyze and review the authenticity of academic work. It began working on detection capabilities for GPT-3, the underlying technology on which many AI writing applications are based, nearly 2 years prior to the release of ChatGPT. Built to help educators and academic institutions identify AI-generated text in student-written submissions. Turnitin's AI writing detection capabilities are integrated into existing Turnitin systems and accessible through learning management systems. Above all, it does not require additional steps for current Turnitin educator users to access. Over 10,700 institutions and more than 2.1 million educators will be able to quickly and easily evaluate a submission for the presence of AI-generated text and provide feedback to students in their current Turnitin workflows. Turnitin's AI detector provides an evaluative measure of how many sentences in a written submission have been generated by artificial intelligence, which educators can use to determine if further review, inquiry, or discussion with the student is needed. Turnitin's AI writing detection capabilities are available within existing products and solutions, including these are all their different products and solutions. So it evaluates it with 98% confidence, and it can measure how many sentences in a written submission may have been generated by artificial intelligence. Educators told us that being able to accurately detect AI written text is their first priority right now. They need to be able to detect AI with very high certainty to assess the authenticity of a student's work and determine how to best engage with them. It is equally important that detection technology becomes a seamless part of their existing workflow, which we have done by integrating AI detection capabilities into their solutions. According to James Thorley, Regional Vice President, Turnitin Asia Pacific, academics, educators, and university administrators in Southeast Asia have been keenly aware of the potential impact of AI tools. Let's see if they have. To help the education community navigate and manage technology, Turnitin has published an AI writing resource page. The publicly available webpage is regularly updated with practical resources from the company's teaching and learning team, which consists of former and current educators. Current resources include a glossary of AI terms, a guide on updating an academic integrity policy in the age of AI, and a downloadable AI misuse rubric to help educators proactively prepare writing assignments from potential AI-generated text. The page also reports progress in refining detection capabilities as AI writing technology continues to evolve. Okay, so it's going to basically list out definitions essentially on this resource page. That becomes a slippery slope. If you're gonna like vocabulary that's often used by AI and being laced into a student's assignment, maybe some of that vocabulary, if not, could even be more than half. Are you going to say if more than half of those vocabulary words are being used, if more than half of those vocabulary words are being used in a student's assignment, is that going to make you automatically assume that the student used generative AI to complete the assignment? But then at that point, it becomes a case of he said, she said. I mean, it's this. I don't see how this is really going to help. The 98% accuracy, 98% confidence. That's a different word. It's not accuracy. 98% confident. I don't know. for 25 years. It's been a trusted partner of education. So there really is no breakdown of if this is actually working. Let me know in the comment section below. Are you guys seeing anyone use this software at all? Are you hearing of things that educators are doing to try and catch generative AI? I'm not sure that this is actually going to be effective. I mean, even if it says with 98% confidence, if a teacher sits a student down and is dogging the student and telling them, I know that you did this assignment using generative AI, and the student swears on all that is mighty they did not use generative AI, what are they going to do with that? How are they going to prove that? You see, in a work environment, in a working environment, if there was a way to tell if your HR documents were completely generated by AI, no one's going to care. Really, no one is going to care who is generating the documents. No one's going to care that it's AI generated, outside of maybe an employer who is paying someone a very large sum of money to do reports and do various different things, and maybe they'll want to be able to tell if it's AI generated. I don't know if it would be simply for the fact that they want to punish an employee, but it might be just simply for the fact to see if maybe like, hey, this guy we're paying a lot of money to, this employee, this staff member, is utilizing generative AI to do their job. Why couldn't we? And we might want to evaluate how many more people we hire in that department, or if we really need that person or that role moving forward. I mean, those are really serious issues. In the sense too, I could see entire businesses being built, like a subscription-based service, where you hire on experts that can utilize generative AI and ensure that the documentation that they're giving you meets the needs and standards of what the best business practices would need. There's so many things that could happen here as far as the workforce is concerned. As far as education, if they can actually build something that detects it, I may eat my own words, but I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that this article and what they're building will actually help the situation at all, because that's what it comes down to, is these assignments. And there's been multiple stories of professors at universities and teachers going hard on their students and flipping out, thinking that are really accusing their students of utilizing generative AI to turn in various assignments with no real conclusion or clarity on if it was true or not. And so that's where we're having issues so far. Do I think it's impossible to create something that could catch it? No, I don't think it's impossible. It will be interesting to watch this play out, how this all lands, because this is radically shaking up and causing shakeup in every way possible in our educational system, a system that many people already believe is broken. I myself too think that there are areas and ways in which the educational system is broken, as it is, and this just further breaks it, in my opinion. It further causes more disruption in a system that really isn't properly set up to keep up with the ever-changing world that the students it claims to try to be preparing are facing. And it's a fundamental failure on all accounts to handle this situation, really. And maybe some blame lies at these tech companies. Maybe some blame lies at OpenAI for throwing something out into the world and not doing its part to properly help or prepare educational institutions for what was coming, and being so callous in that. You're going to be, they're all advocates for overpopulation. They're all advocates for, environmental friendliness, but no one seems to be an advocate in destroying someone's future by, you'd never hand a student a bomb or something that could blow up an explosive device. You would never do that. But in the same way, you're handing them an explosive device that could destroy their future, because they're gonna be tempted to use something that they don't realize is destroying their critical thinking skills, and could ultimately, if they rely on it too much, make them lazy and make them useless in the future when they have to go about in the world and utilize aspects of their grit, of their determination, and are no longer able to do that. So that was my alarm going off. Apologize for that. guys, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. It really helps us with the channel. It really helps us grow and feeds the algorithm. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. I'm really curious, how do you feel about that, especially with maybe does some of the blame lie at these tech companies for not doing their part in preparing and forewarning people the tools that they were getting ready to release and the effects those tools were going to have on educational systems, something that all of those tech company leaders highly regard, because most of the fields in which they are getting employees are results of higher education, and so you would think that they would take more time and have more concern about how their products are affecting higher education. But it seems like they just passed the buck and kicked the can down the road, and literally said, well, tough cookies, deal with it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you guys for hanging out to this long into the video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.